Hello everyone. Today we are here for a special session of the ECOSOC Youth Forum, which is currently taking place here at the United Nations headquarters in New York. Throughout history, young people have been at the forefront of social change, driving progress and innovation in the face of adversity. Today, what can young people do to change and engage a fairer, greener, and a more sustainable future for all? In the next few minutes, we will dive into a discussion about it. My name is Ming Lu, and I am a correspondent at the United Nations from China Daily. Before we start the discussion, please allow me to introduce our distinguished panel of speakers. They are Philippe Paulier, Assistant Secretary General for Youth Affairs, Mai Sami, Co-Chair Intergenerational and Youth Subcommittee, and Christina Williams, Head of Advocacy and Partnerships for the Commonwealth. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
And Philip, my first question goes to you. We are on the last day of the 2024 ECOSOC Youth Forum. Can you introduce a little bit about what kind of forum it is and what's happened so far and any key moment highlight?
Of course, and thank you for the question. So the ECOSOC Youth Forum is the largest gathering of young people into the discussions and the conversations of the United Nations. This year ECOSOC Youth Forum is quite special. Is this the first one I have the honor to be part in my new responsibility as head of the United Nations Youth Office, but this is a very crucial gathering because this year the ECOSOC Youth Forum discussions are also linked into the Summit of the Future discussions. This process that is taking place in the United Nations with discussions, conversations and negotiations between member states about a series of transformations of multilateralism for the future. So in a world living with 1.9 billion people, the largest generation of young people, the voices of young people need to be part of the transformations of multilateralism. So these days have been an amazing opportunity to share how young people are really partners in the necessity of this transformation. Young people are leading by example at the local, at the regional, and at the global level. So during ECOSOC, young people have the opportunity to interact, to bring their voices, and to have this kind of conversations around with member states about their perspectives in these whole discussions.
Thank you. And Mai and Christina, why do you think it is so important to have a forum like this?
Thank you for the question. I can actually address it based on my experience. I've been here for a year now, and based on observation, it's almost the only week around the UN building where it's buzzing with energy. And it's so refreshing to walk around the corridors of the UN and finding a lot of young people around the building. But it's also so crucial to have a safe space for young people where we can convene under the umbrella of the UN, because as of this moment, we constitute 50% of the population, and it's really, really crucial for us because we are the most affected by the challenges and the problems that we inherited from other generation. And we don't want to deliver another planet to the next and future generations where we just sit aside and we didn't do anything about it. So it's crucial to have this space to deliver our unique perspective on the challenges, because as you said, we lead by example. We face a lot of the challenges, but we also have a unique voice and a creative solution to how to face these challenges. It's also a really good opportunity this year because of the Summit of the Future, which has basically an intergovernmental process. But this day, the third day of the ECOSOC Youth Forum, will provide a huge opportunity for young people to input their voices into the outcome document of the ECOSOC Youth Forum that might help to be integrated into the Pact for the Future, which is an action-oriented document that will come out of the Summit of the Future.
I endorse the sentiments of my fellow speakers, but also add that when we consider the Summit of the Future, as well as a high-level political forum, we're really looking at the conflicts around the world. Right now, we have over 110 conflicts. Some have been ongoing for over 50 years. And the young people of the world, the 1.9 billion that ASG Philippi talked about, are so disproportionately affected by these conflicts. There's so much despair and hopelessness. It's important for us to gather in a space where we can bring forth our energy, our light, all the perspectives and experiences that we have, the solutions. We're brimming with so much creativity and energy to really inspire, motivate, and to change lives. So I feel that this space is so important, especially in a time like this when we need positive change and positive voices. And we thank the UN, we thank the work of the UN Youth Office, and we thank the young people of the world as they continue to march forward. And even the young people who aren't able to be here in physical presence, we feel your spirit out there in the world, we feel you here, and we're just grateful for all the work that we continue to do together.
Thank you. And as we talk about young people are the group of people that will live with the consequences that we do of today's actions or inactions. And they're also the group of people that are shaping our common future. So Philip, how is the future look like right now for young people?
So I would like to build also from one of the concepts, one of the panelists also brought into the conversation now. So this necessity also, when we have these discussions at a global level, in New York, in the headquarters, very, very far away, where most of the young people are. No? 90% of young people live in developing countries. So let's keep that in mind always when we have these discussions. Let's keep those that couldn't be here because of access, because of resources. Let's keep those in mind to really, when we are thinking about the future, we don't leave no one behind. And that should be the guidance of all the discussions we have during these days. So I believe that in a world with ongoing conflicts, what young people bring into the conversations, the negotiations, and it's a necessity of transformation. It's a necessity of action. No? So that's why during these days, with the team of the United Nations Youth Office and with a lot of partners that come from civil society, partners that come from the UN system, partners that come from youth-led organization, we launched an open letter. This is an open letter to global leaders. And this open letter is about the necessity of including transformations where meaningful youth engagement is really a reality and a norm at all discussions in the UN processes, and where national governments also take commitments to implement these spaces at the national and at the regional level. Understanding the diversity of these platforms. Of course, it's not the same to implement a mechanism for youth engagement in one region than in another, in one country than in another. Even in countries, it's not the same in one part of the country than in another. But this is essential. If we really need and we really believe about the importance of institution, if we really believe about the importance of multilateralism, we need to transform it. And meaningful youth engagement is really a smart decision to take. So we want to have concrete commitments on that direction, and we have an opportunity during the Pact. So I invite everyone that is following up this conversation to join this open letter, to put their sign there, to share it, and to transform this process together.
Thank you, Philip. Maya and Christina, do you think what are some of the ways that people can do to engage to ensure that we all have a greener, a more sustainable future for all?
Do you want to go ahead or do you want me to go?
You can go.
So I believe in the power of small actions. I believe in the power of small actions where you can even do minor changes in your lifestyle that can actually help and lead to bigger changes. I also I know, like, drawing from your input now, it's really hard to translate policy into implementation and action, and it's also challenging to draw policies that can reflect the needs of the community. So if there's two things that I can say helped me, also my work based on my experience as a young leader, is changing my lifestyle and engaging with the community. And so yeah, that's basically it.
A fairer, greener, more sustainable future, I think, starts with access. Our young people have to feel that they're able to access what they need to not only survive but to thrive in their communities and their respective countries. We're talking about education, health, water, food, I think at that very basic level. But then of course at a more advanced level, when we talk about decision-making processes, of course we have like the ECOSOC Youth Forum, but just even at the government, at the national and local level, where young people have to be able to say nothing for us without us, and that is a meaningful manifestation of that, and not just a saying that we use at times because it sounds good. So I feel if we want a fairer, greener, more sustainable future, it starts with access for our young people and for all our vulnerable and marginalized groups across the world. And the more we mainstream that and it just becomes normalized, it doesn't have to become some talking point anymore in a speech, just this is my life, this is my reality, then we will achieve that and achieve that for all communities in the world.
Mm-hmm. And my last couple questions goes to all speakers. What are some of the changes that you'd like to see that young people will have more access to a more sustainable future?
So I start my side, it's okay? So I believe there are no receipts about this, no? And I would like to share, and I share completely, and I highlight what you said now about the importance of understanding the capacity of transformation we all have, no? At different levels, with different levels of responsibilities. But it's crucial that we bring this perspective of acting, of thinking local, and bringing this local into the global, and the global into the local, no? But there is no one recipe on that to happen. And I believe that young people are the ones that know what's the next step to do. What we really believe on our side and in the United Nations Youth Office is that advancing on concrete changes and transformations and creating more of these spaces, such as the ECOSOC Youth Forum, in all the mechanisms and in all the discussions that are taking place is crucial. It's a matter of representation. It's a matter of really bringing diverse voices into the decision-making processes. And you know, we have been failing in the past, and we need to change, because if we really want to get into the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030, we need to accelerate this, and we believe that young people are crucial for this to happen. Meaningful youth engagement, it's of course because it's a human right to participate, but it's a smart decision to take for governments, for institutions, for the private sector, because it's about being more effective, and it's about putting into the conversation and that half of the population in the world that is under 30 years old feels part of the decisions. And when you're part, you trust. And we need trust in institutions to be successful.
Right.
It's true, we've been fighting, we've been hustling, we've been getting degrees, working in the community, trying to find opportunities, having so many challenges and barriers. Language is a barrier. Getting a visa is a barrier. Right. Being funded is a barrier. And after overcoming all of this, you come to the table and sometimes, yes, your voice you heard, but not you. They don't look at you as an equal partner. So if there's an ask, I would ask the governments, the member states, to look at young people as equal young people as equal partners in the decision-making process. We have the ECOSOC Youth Forum, which we're really grateful to have. It's a huge space for young people. The UN opens its door for young people for it used to be 2 days, now 3 days, which is also an advancement. But we need to make the ECOSOC Youth Forum with a more formal mandate, with a stronger mandate to influence the ECOSOC cycle as a whole. And we also need to make it mandatory in all the United Nations processes to have inputs, intergenerational inputs from children, youth, and elder in Syrian senior communities. This is it for me now, on the top of my head. And yeah, moving over to Christine.
Okay. So since we talked about governments and the UN, I think I would, in terms of my actions, I would call on young people. So despite the barriers, just to be here at ECOSOC, I think the young people here should consider themselves privileged, or at least have some degree of privilege. And by acknowledging the privilege that you have to be at ECOSOC or any of these UN or high-level events, it gives you this sense of responsibility that you need to go back home and you need to really fire up that advocacy engine, and you need to hold your governments even more accountable, and you need to include even more young people in the space. I always say to my fellow young people, it's important for us to take up space, but also we need to create space for other young people. So one action I would say is to my young people, my young leaders who may be watching this interview, that create space, take up space, and to ensure that through the work that you do, your projects, your policies, your partnerships, that you're also extending that advocacy work, so that you engage young people in all their diversity in what we do. Because when we call on governments to be more inclusive and to meaningfully include young people, we also have to play by what we preach, or we practice what we preach. So that would be one action that I would ask of my fellow young people.
Yes, Christina is already talking about the actions that we would suggest young people to do. Do we have any other suggestions? What kind of tangible actions that young people can do to make sure that we will have this sustainable future?
So yes, and I believe that the importance of understanding that this is not only about the global discussions, and at the same time trying to bring discussions that may feel far from what young people are facing in their actual realities, in their daily life, no? It's crucial, no? So I would say yes. So I will invite you again to join this global action campaign with the open letter. I think that's that necessity of bringing urgency to global leaders about transformation. It's crucial. And really the matter of trust is crucial. The whole UN system is based in trust. If people don't trust in the UN, how are we going to accelerate and to promote the Sustainable Development Goals? If people don't trust in the UN, how we are going to be protecting and promoting peace? If people don't trust, how we are going to advance and to protect human rights? And in this global world we live, the UN is more necessary than ever. And of course it needs transformation. But let's imagine, let's take 30 seconds to imagine what would be the world be if we didn't have the UN in the last 80 years. So of course we need a different and transformations for the future. But this is unique, so let's take care of it. And global leaders, they are the ones that need to take action.
Yes.
I would really like to echo your word that we need to rebuild and restore the trust in the UN, especially for young people, because recently young people have been losing face, but we need to rebuild this, and this is actually the moment to do it by engaging, seeking opportunities. There were many. Let's take, for example, the intergovernmental process for the Summit of the Future and the Pact for the Future. There were many opportunities where young people could engage. Many actors around the UN were trying to play a role in this. So speak up, seek these opportunities, make up spaces and create spaces, just like Christine was talking. I was involved in many of the youth consultations that happened over the past couple of months. Some of them were led by the youth office. It was online consultation, so it was more accessible. Today at the ECOSOC is the third day. It's a day where you could use this opportunity to get involved. So one action that I would really emphasize on, get involved. Try not to lose hope, because the change doesn't come if we lose hope.
For sure.
Well, I think I will add to that final point that you made about not losing hope. Yes, there's a lot of hopelessness in many spaces around the world right now. I think one of the most powerful thing that we as young people and the young people out there can do is to maintain that hope, to remain fired up as much as possible. Yes, take time to care for yourself. Self-care is important in the advocacy world, but as much as possible, let's continue to work together. There's so much value in our similarities as young people, and also value in our differences as well, and we can rely on both of them to work together to really fight for a better future. And that is what I would say. Continue fighting.
And opportunities are always there around the UN. You just need to find them. And it's not easy to find them. And it's also challenging if you find them to actually be there, but be here. But you don't have to be in New York to
Right.
make an influence. You can make it
At your local
locally.
level.
You can
That's
make
right.
it regionally. In May, there will be the UN Civil Society Conference happening in Nairobi in support for Summit of the Future. And this conference is really crucial at this moment because it's taking the intergovernmental process beyond New York. It's taking it to Africa, one of the youngest continents with the youngest population. It's a great opportunity for young people to engage, to try to influence the intergovernmental process of the Summit of the Future and the Pact for the Future, and try to have a say in the future. It's not guaranteed because of the nature of the process, but we just can't sit aside.
Right.
Thank you so much for your opinion, and thank you so much for your time. And let's keep this momentum, keep going as we further to the more sustainable future. Thank you.
It's been a
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.